all the things that I had to go through, overcome, persevere, down, up, da 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 da, all the sucky times. And then I was like, wow, you are resilient.
Okay, my friends, welcome back to the Two Thumbs Up podcast. Today we have one of my favorite people. Again, one of my favorite people on the planet. I have a number of them, but Heather Powell is definitely one of my favorite people. For those that may be listening, she was formerly known as Heather Shippen. She's married to Mark Powell, who was a dear brother of mine who I love. And we're grateful to have her on the show today. We're going to talk about a few things and discuss some of her health journeys and some of the things she's learned. And so welcome to the show, Heather. How are you?
I'm good. I am so happy that you're doing this. I know we talked about us doing one, but I'm so proud of you that you have pursued this. This is awesome.
And I would love to have you on the show many times. So
I will be available.
So I wanted to just have you sort of introduce yourself and talk about your life and some of the things you've experienced and some of your health journeys. Why don't you jump right into that? And I'll share briefly. Heather has something called beta thalassemia, and it's a very rare condition. It's a blood condition related to your red blood cells, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And at what age did you discover you had that?
So when I was a little girl, my mom took me to the doctor. I don't know what it was for. She doesn't recall either. But they basically said I had beta thalassemia and she was like, what do I have to do? And they're like, she'll be fine. Just, make sure she doesn't marry someone with it someday, like have that testing done, because if two people with beta thalassemia, you can have what's called beta thalassemia disease, and those people do not live a long life, and they have to have blood transfusions all the time. So that was
when your mom took you in. Were you having symptoms that she recognized?
I honestly, I think I went in because I was having knee surgery as a child. I had been in a car accident. I had a hairline fracture that we never knew. I played a lot of sports as a kid. I played soccer, and I had a big growth that started in my knee. And when they discovered that they were going to have to scope it, they did some blood work. And then that's, I think, when they discovered it, because I think it was vaguely around that time. I had a couple surgeries as a kid and on my arm and stuff like that. So I was already from the get-go getting in there and having surgical procedures. But so I didn't really think about it. I didn't really know anything about it. My mom, obviously, she was a very young mom when she had me. She didn't research it or anything because the doctors told her I'd be fine. And my mom is from the old school where someone in a white coat tells you this and you just, okay. Fast forward, I think I didn't really pay attention to it until probably I did the testing when I got married to my daughter's father. We did the testing. He didn't have it. So I had two beautiful children. And
beta thalassemia, correct? Yes.
They do not have it.
Because it's a genetic thing. It's related to genetics. Yes.
So I know where it's usually African, Greek, Italian, Asian, and Middle Eastern descent.
All you beautiful Mediterranean folks, right?
Yeah. So my family is from Portugal, because I was like, how do I have it then? And no one in our family, I don't know where I have it. So my great grandparents were from Portugal. I think it might be some gene that I got from them through my mom. I don't know. But yeah, I'm the lucky one in the family with it. So after the girls, it seemed like I started having problems with my heart. Actually, when I had my youngest, Olivia, they said that I had a stroke when I had a C-section. And I was like, no, I didn't. I was awake. Anyway, so they did testing on my heart, EKG. They went me out of the hospital. Finally, they were like, okay, well, you seem fine now. We'll let you go. So that was like one indicator, and I was
in that pregnancy and that delivery. Did you have symptoms of a stroke?
They said I did. I was like, no, I didn't. But they said they saw something. Mm-hmm. I have no idea. And I was not.
And Olivia's your second baby, right?
Yeah. So, yeah. I was 30 when I had her. And real quick, I'll back up. Prior to getting pregnant with both of them, I had infertility problems in my 20s. And so I don't know if that's a symptom of it either, but I had to have a laparoscopic surgery. It actually almost killed me. Had to have blood transfusion, but I've had 4 pregnancies and 2 miscarriages. And I do think probably my beta thalassemia did contribute to the miscarriages.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, after Olivia and that one time it kind of stuck in there that they said I had a stroke, and I was like, well, that's weird. Well, I used to have symptoms where I would be walking and all of a sudden my legs would be weak and like they're giving out from underneath me. And I had had a friend that had MS and had really suffered, and those were some of her symptoms. So I was really freaked out about that, but
Right.
found out that's a symptom of my thalassemia. And I'm a San Diegan. We moved to Utah. We had
Higher
stairs,
altitude, right?
altitude. And then every time I would go upstairs, I was out of breath. I couldn't breathe. The cold, I was always grouchy and miserable because of the cold. But now I found out it's harder for my body to keep it warm. So I was literally always like convulsing and
Exactly.
really
So you're not carrying as much oxygen. Yeah, your body's working hard to keep yourself warm. Yes.
I think you taught me that just in the past years, because I was like, duh, I didn't even know. I just knew I was always really grouchy when I was cold. And Melanie was like, no, yeah, she really was.
So
But
for clarity's sake, so Heather and I and Melanie literally raised our children together. So I have, our oldest, my oldest boys are identical ages to her daughters, and then we have all of us share our beautiful Lexi. So we literally have known each other for years and years and years, and so we've kind of walked the ups and downs of it all, and I'm super grateful for you. So all these beautiful things create together. So you started noticing, weakness in your legs. At what age would you say you started noticing some of that?
probably in my 20s, around having kids and then athletics and then moving to elevation from San Diego. And yeah, so I definitely started noticing it then. And then I was paying attention like, oh, I can't breathe the same as other people. And in
What was
fact,
that? What did you notice? Did you notice like shortness of breath? Did you notice I get winded quickly?
actually, in Utah, when I lived there, I kind of was diagnosed with tachycardia. And then I had another health issue, and I had my gallbladder out. I had severe pancreatitis, which was very dangerous. I laid in the hospital. Many people in Utah helped me during that time, so I still will never forget them taking care of my kids. But had to have my gallbladder out, severe pancreatitis. Then that's when they said you have tachycardia. So then I had to start seeing a heart doctor, blah, blah, blah. So then eventually here, then I knew, okay, the shortness of breath is tachycardia. I need to relax. I need to stop for a minute. I need to take a breath. I can't wear pants that are too tight because when I bend over, it cut my circulation off. And then I got AFib.
Yes.
So
Tell us
then
what's AFib? What do you notice about that?
atrial fibrillation, I felt like it was the same as tachycardia, but they said it wasn't. And then they explained about my heart and the chambers in the blood. And so because of my thalassemia and because I don't carry enough oxygen and the way my body pumps the hemoglobins, it affects the heart. It doesn't do it. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I can't explain.
Well, and your heart works extra hard.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, your heart has to work extra
Yes.
hard to pump.
All my organs work extra hard.
Yeah, to pump more oxygen because you have a hemoglobin or an oxygen carrying deficit, right?
That's right. Yes, that's
so
right.
because of that, you do have systemic things that you start noticing, or AFib or tachycardia or shortness of breath and all of those types of things. When did they discover you had AFib?
I think I was living here, so more than a decade ago, because it was prior to Mark and stuff like that. So I'm not very good with years. I don't know why, but it definitely was more than a decade ago. So they said that the best thing for me was to have an ablation.
So you had a cardiac ablation.
So I had a cardiac ablation, And after it, there was still a little AFib. And they said, well, it's tricky, like the chambers of the heart, we could go in again.
Mhm.
And I had an episode in California, ended up in the hospital, talked to a doctor there, and he kind of made me nervous about that. So I just,
Do you feel like you're gonna faint? It wasn't? I remember in California.
um, I did actually, it was the first time in my entire life. We were at the beach camping and we were walking. And I literally, as we were walking, I was going to the ground.
Right. So
And
yeah,
the only time in my life that I've had that experience, and I was freaking out, told Mark,
I
he called,
remember. Yeah, you freaked
yeah,
all of us out. I remember that. Yep.
yeah, it was bad. And so I went to the hospital. I think I was over 200 beats a minute, whatever, however they say, the doctors say it. They brought in the crash cart, everything. I mean, I thought it was it. I was really nervous that time, but thank the Lord, that was like the worst of it. And then since then, I've been on blood thinners and heart medication to control the AFib.
Hmm.
And then we can get more into the journey of how I manage everything now.
Yeah. So I remember that episode, and I think it was sort of, and correct me if this isn't a clear characterization. It really was a wake up call for you. Would you say?
Yes.
Like that was
Yep.
like, oh, this is finally to a point where I got to really pay attention to this.
Yes.
Because up until that point, you just kind of managed, because I've known you a long time, and you managed life and you knew you had it and all of these things. And then whammo, you had this episode. It's like, oh, I really better start being conscious of this.
For sure. And I think when you're young and you're just powering through, you're a young mommy, and I don't know, I just kind of, I've always actually kind of powered through. So I wasn't really taking the time. But as these things happen, which I consider a blessing, every single one of them, because I have gotten so in tune with my body and just body, mind, and soul, because I've had to like stop and pay attention and listen and be quiet. So now I can tell like when my spleen is acting up, or if my digestion is too full,
Mhm.
because now I can feel like actual bowel stuff in my side based on like how my body feels, which I would have never known that when I was younger. You just don't pay attention to that stuff. So now I think it's great that I can like listen, and I know, what to do to make those adjustments.
So
But
what you described there is something I'm super fascinated with. And to me, what you described is intuition. What you are in tune with. And I love the word intuition because to me it means in tune with me, I see. So, because as a result of your health things that you've had,
mm,
have literally learned to listen. I mean, to the very point of digestion and absorption and what your spleen is doing. I mean, I know you, I'm sure you tell your spleen how great it is.
I do. I tell my cells, I visualize each and every little good, healthy cell
Yeah.
to like go in there and multiply and replenish. Yeah, because, having the beta thalassemia, I don't carry a lot of oxygen. I do struggle with breath. I can't do some of the things that other people can do around me, but I can still do a lot.
Mhm.
And I think the fact that like at this point, I work out all the time. I post selfies shamelessly, I know, but now I work out just so I can feel good and do things.
Mhm.
You know, how I look now is actually secondary, truthfully. When I was younger, how I looked was the priority,
Mhm.
right? That was, but now, me, I've fallen in recent years. I broke a foot last year. I break ribs regularly. I've broken so many ribs. I broke 3 ribs, when I moved into this house.
I just
And
FYI, I won't tell the whole story, but people don't slide in your socks.
yeah, do not do the risky business move. No bueno. I don't know who I think I am. But yeah, so now I just feel so proud to, be able to recover from injuries and still get back out there and, do a lot of sports and a lot of activities. Mark and I, obviously, we go fishing and sailing, pickleball, I lift weights, and, I do all that. So, because dang it, I want a bunch of grandkids and I want to be here for them. So I do it all for that purpose now. And
And one thing I do notice, love about what you do too, is you ask a lot of questions. Meaning,
yeah,
you ask a lot of questions of yourself, and you ask a lot of questions of your doctors. As a matter of fact, it was interesting to me because this rarely happens. Is Heather texted me a response, literally from her doctor, about some of the meds she's on, and most people actually wouldn't have the courage to reach out to their doctor like that, and he or she responded. So it's one thing I love is like, folks, ask your doctor. And if they're not open to like literally knowing you and responding to you quickly, find another doctor, right? So someone you actually have a relationship with that you trust. And to me, that's was the response you got from your was it your
it was my heart doctor.
heart doctor? Mm-hmm.
I'm very fortunate because my heart doctor and my blood doctor, they know each other, and they're both great doctors, and I have great relationships with them, and I truly feel like they care about me. Um, but I think I do challenge them because I do ask questions, and when they do say things to me, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, um, I'm pretty adamant about my voice being heard in my care, and I
Yes.
think that they've come to know that about me and appreciate me about, that I want to be involved in it. So, yeah, I have a great heart doctor that I did ask him, like, well, if because I wore a Holter monitor recently for 3 weeks, they said
Oh
no
yeah.
AFib.
Yeah. Say that. What's that about?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was having symptoms this past summer. I couldn't breathe. I was really struggling. I had a bad fall in Idaho, and broke rib, broke my foot, and just could not breathe. And anyways, I actually got right back in the gym, started recovering, started doing some of the moves that I think you showed me for PT for my foot, and rehabbing myself, which I've done many a time now. But so I went to my doctor when I get back in the fall, and he's like, "You're gonna have to wear a Holter monitor for 3 weeks." I did not want to do that for 3 weeks. But anyways, after that, he was like, "No AFib." And so I was like, oh, that's great. And then he had me do a stress test, and my exercise level was really great. They wanted it at a certain number, and I actually exceeded it, which was, again, I was really proud of that because it's this work I do in the gym, and it's the work I do walking and staying active and stuff. So recently I was like, okay, wait, if I don't have AFib, why am I on this medication still? And so I asked him because I really don't want to be taking medications, but he responded and gave me the reasons. And, it actually is probably keeping me from not having it, preventing it. And I don't really want to have an ablation because I don't want to have a procedure.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll probably continue with the AFib. So
Medication. Right.
the medication. But I agree with what you say, Todd. Like, I don't understand why people are afraid to ask their doctors questions or challenge them, or or research whatever the doctor does say.
Right.
I will share something really quick that I was very upset about with my mother, and I know she won't mind if I share this. My mother was here, and she is on medication, and she needs stuff to sleep, and she needs antidepressants, and always pretty much has since I'm my whole upbringing. But I noticed she was a little zombied out when she was visiting one time, and I was like, Mom, like, what's going on? And so I challenged her to go back and talk to her doctor. Well, I ended up going with her to this doctor's appointment, and the doctor was like, well, what do we have you on? She goes, well, I suppose we could take you off the muscle relaxer. And I was like, why does she need muscle relaxer? She doesn't even work out, like, she doesn't even do anything. And she was saying some other medications, and then asking my mom some questions about her depression and this and that. And so my mom answers. So she's like, okay, well, we'll do this. We'll adjust this. We'll take you off that, blah, blah, blah. And I go, wait a minute. You didn't ask my mom, how much sunlight is she getting? You didn't ask her how much is she moving her body? You didn't ask her about her relationships and if she's doing anything socially. Like, my mom is from the old school white coat, doctor tells you something, she's going to believe it. And I was like, you didn't ask her anything that is about her health and wellness. And I was really frustrated, and the doctor did not like me, I could tell, and she left. But I'm the one that has to like call and get the information, to tell her. But
Yeah.
it's quite frustrating. And not all doctors are created the same, but
It is interesting though that the generation before us, actually Heather and I are almost the exact same age. Um, they were almost afraid to ask their doctors questions.
they
Um,
had a lot of power.
there's this they know more than me thing going on, and so I love that that's changing.
Yeah,
Because it's time to, and doctors know a ton of beautiful information,
for
uh,
sure.
but also find one that fits your paradigm, your experience, meets what you'd love to have in a doctor. And I feel like healthcare is actually moving that direction as a group, where we're like, well, wait a minute here. It's time to get back to patient care and listen to the patient, and don't pretend we know everything, right? I
Yeah,
mean, that's one of the things. Is like, well, if you have a doctor in front of your name, they're supposed to know everything. The reality is there's so much new information coming now than any other time in history when it comes
yeah,
to the human body, the human genome, all of these different things. If a doctor's stuck in the fact that the idea that he or she knows it all, move on. Because I'm telling you what, I learned things this morning. I was studying about, genetics and, all these different things. And that's the fun part. And so, I loved you hold your doctors accountable, and maybe your mom is learning that too now that you know held her doctor accountable. So,
well, I feel like if your doctor has respect for you, like there has to be mutual respect, even though we're the patients. My doctors, I think, respect me, and and if I choose, what's the word, autonomy over myself and my care, they respect that.
yeah,
And I'll just be honest right here now too about the vax. Like, I had a lot of pressure, and of course the whole world we were all in fear. We don't know what's the best decision, for us. It is an individual decision. And for me, having a heart problem, taking blood thinners, having to worry about blood clots, some of the things I was reading, I was like, I worked so hard with my beta thalassemia to try to keep that in check,
mm-hmm.
that wasn't something that I wanted to do. And we had the conversation. My doctor, of course, wanted me to take the vax, and I didn't. And I explained from where I was coming from and my point of view. And he said, okay, do you think that there's a chip in it or something? And I said, no. And he said, okay, just as long as you're not one of those. And I said, no. And he said, then I understand where you're coming from, and I respect that. And he's never told me anything different. And I'm just going to put that out there, because I wanted to make the individual decision based on my own health, healthcare. And a lot of people were actually unkind and said some really unkind things personally to me too. And it was quite hurtful, because not everyone knows everyone's, path.
Yeah, that's why. Yes, exactly. No one knows your health history like you know your health history. No one knows your body like you know your body. And having sovereignty over your health and medical choices is imperative. It's imperative. And if healthcare is attempting to take that away, we are way off base.
I agree.
And so I love, again, what you described was intuition, intuitive health. Into me I see, meaning you're the one that walks and is in your experience. And as humanity wakes up to that idea, like, hey, wait, this is my body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I'm accountable to it. And I know, when I'm not accountable to mine, I eat too many donuts or whatever. It tells me immediately that, hey, bro, what are you doing? And so, because you listen so clearly, because of your health history, you said,
Mm-hmm.
no. no to the vax because I'm like, I'm not putting that in my body because of the information I've learned about it. Now,
Yeah,
that means someone else, they can
right.
make their own choice, you know.
Totally.
Uh,
Um, with my thalassemia, I run at between 6.3 and 7, if I'm lucky, hemoglobins. And that is excruciatingly low. In the past, if I had gone to the doctors, they would be like calling me like, you need to come back in here for an emergency, transfusion. And I'm like, no, this is how my body runs. This is what it's used to. It's still a challenge. Like, I know all my organs are always working over time. I just wanted to get this in there for people that maybe are going through health issues. One of the things that I feel that I wasn't doing and I wasn't listening, remember the beach episode and put me in the hospital, and that was hydration. I have to say, hydration, electrolytes, has changed everything for me. I'm a super huge hydrator now. I have electrolytes on a regular basis. I live in the desert. I have to be really cautious of that. I'm active, so I have to be extra cautious of that. I'll have a cup of coffee. They say that, it's really will, take away your hydration. So I think hydration, and I do electrolytes in the morning. I do magnesium every night. I get B12 shots regularly at the doctor. I take folic acid. Those are some things. But for beta thalassemia, I cannot take iron.
yeah.
Iron actually could be dangerous for me. Now the risk that I face if I choose to have blood transfusions, which I can have one any day because that's how low I run, I'm at the threshold where I absolutely need a transfusion all the time. But I've chosen to be careful about choosing those because what happens is I get overloaded with iron from the blood transfusions. Then it'll go around my heart. It's going to cause other health issues. Then I'll have to have what's called chelation. And that's a whole nother thing that I'm trying to prevent. So, yeah, I deal with that. And it's a very fine balance because,
And because you know your health history and you go to a doctor that doesn't know your history and they see your hemoglobin levels and you're at 6.3, they're like, oh my gosh, she's crashing. You're like, no, I'm okay.
yeah,
I know myself. This is what I
yes.
run. So having that perspective is essential to your well-being.
I actually got in an argument with a doctor one time because she was not going to let me out of the hospital without a transfusion and I understand, like, for her, for her care and what she knows, like, yes, that's very dangerous. But for me, and what I know about my body now and my history, and working with my oncologist who does know me and my history, and he sees how, because I see him regularly, he would have understanding of it. But another doctor in a different state is like, what are you doing? So, but again, that's because now I know my body. I can have those conversations, tell him what I'm comfortable with. And sometimes, honestly, I have to not be prideful and I just have to take the transfusion sometimes. And, I do kind of set my schedule up based on that too. Sometimes, like, how I'm feeling, or if I have something coming up, or, where I'm going to be in the world.
Right.
We have to think about when I went to Italy with some friends this last year, and my husband was quite nervous because I'm in a different part of the world with, 4 girlfriends. And, we have to consider all of that every time I travel anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, where can a helicopter, where can this, because of the thalassemia.
So did you how often do you do transfusions?
Um, I do it now based on my body, like how I'm feeling. For me, when I get sick, it's very hard on my body, the recovery. I did get COVID.
Mhm.
Um, it was not fun. I feel for everyone that's had COVID and actually people that have lost loved ones from COVID. It's just terrible. That was hard for me to recover. I did think about getting a blood transfusion after that because sometimes I need just that extra.
And
Because
that
when
was last, let's see, I remember it was last
it was around this time actually last year,
a
I
year
think.
ago right now, like February or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happens is it's just a slower recovery for me, I think, as far as like energy levels to get back up. But I did okay. And then again, I live in the desert. I'm fortunate. So I have great sun. I always I'll go, even when I'm sick, I'll go lay in the sun. I try and get it on my core for the vitamin D absorption because
Right.
I can't take iron and stuff like that. Um, so I've just learned kind of how to take care of my body to do the best I can. But had I not had it drawn out longer and did not feel well, I would have chosen to have gotten a transfusion.
Again, you become so amazing at listening to what your body says.
Yes, I'm
And
grateful.
I feel like a lot of folks are still learning that. And one thing that I can see about you is that because of your beta thalassemia, you have consciously tuned in to
Totally.
yourself, to what your experience is. Because if you would have just ignored it and just went on your merry way, um,
I would be crashing.
there'd be a result, right?
Yes.
And because you have learned, paid attention, asked the questions, learned to live consciously with your experience, look what you've created. That's beautiful. That's amazing. And I feel like if, as humans, it's imperative that we learn to listen to what's going on if we want to optimize our health, because everybody's got something. And it's whether or not I want to pay attention and be conscious of it and make choices accordingly, because there's always a price to pay for a choice that works or a choice that doesn't work. So what would you say, and I know you're a very grateful person, you're grateful for everything, and that's another thing that I love about you. What are some of the things you've learned about yourself, about your mind, about your, obviously we've talked about your body, about your essence, your soul, who you are, as a result of your health experience?
I would say that I have a lot of resiliency. So to use your word, which I love this word too, which it's a very important word to me for my family, and that is grit. I think I have a lot of grit. I have a lot of resiliency, and I'm actually so proud of that. And I've reflected on that just recently, prior to us talking or anything. Um, just to kind of digress a little, we're remodeling a little home in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It's a new project, and I was up there, and I used to help build homes in Utah by you. We've built homes together too. But just that knowledge of that experience and knowing things and where things, and it just all came back. And it was after that that I thought, wow, that's been so long since I've done a project like that, and then here now, and I have that information. But what I'm going to get emotional, what it made me think of is the time from that moment, from like that past moment, like all the things that I had to go through, overcome, persevere, down, up, da 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 da, all the sucky times. And then I was like, wow, you are resilient, and so I would say that's the number one thing is I'm resilient and grateful. I don't think if I didn't have gratitude that I would be resilient, but I think the gratitude keeps me going because I'm always focused on, all the things that I do have.
So gratitude is essentially the fuel on which your grit runs, essentially.
Totally, for
Yeah.
sure. Because, for example, I'll just give you one example. At a time when I was divorced, single mom, basically raising two little girls, pretty much broke, but we had everything, the three of us in our little condo. It was magical. My girls are amazing. And it was like the fuel of being their mom and just being so grateful for them because of my experience when I was younger, having infertility and maybe thinking I'm never going to be a mom. So when I was able to be a mom for the first time, it still translates today. Like I never take it for granted because I was told at one point in my life when I was a young woman, you're not going to have children. You can't have kids. And that's all I've ever wanted to do is be a mom. So I think the gratitude of, that too has always sustained me no matter what. Oh, I just love them.
Yes, I know that about you too. So what would you say, what would you love to tell people then, as far as them taking a look at their life and what they're experiencing and what they would love to create? You mentioned gratitude, you've mentioned grit. Um, what would you, for example, what do you tell your daughters about as they learn about themselves? And I know you're so good at that. You're so good at, and you don't have to get into all of the specifics, but how do you root them on or cheer them on or empower them or give them, uh, you know, information or advice as they're walking their walk and learning their experience through life?
Well, I think first and foremost, it would be our faith. I think because we are daughters of our Heavenly Father. So that's number one. Always it comes back to our faith. That always sustains us. As far as the here and now, put out the energy, stay in integrity, and love. It's all about love. Like, love is everything. But if they are working hard, if they are moving their body, if they are putting out good energy, if they're being kind, if they're creating good relationships, if they won't accept bad treatment, all that will come back to them.
And what have you seen that create?
They both are in current relationships with very nice young men that are actually nice and kind to them, that also have, I feel like, that also going on in their own lives, from their families and from their friendships. And so it's like they're attracting the same type of people that they have created within themselves. That's what I'm seeing lately, is like the friendships that are coming in, the opportunities of work that are coming in. And it's like every time it happens, and it honestly at this point it's been daily, because I have two, so it's daily. And then now I have a future son-in-law, so even with him, and it's so exciting to see these young adults having these positive things constantly coming in, and I'm just like, yeah, that more. And the more you do as far as staying in integrity, love, putting that energy out, it's not going to not come back to you.
So
And so they
speaking
do.
speaking the language of increase, speaking the language of I'm
Yeah.
amazing, I am powerful, I am, all of
Yeah.
these things. And I know you do this, you meditate, you pray, you have these experiences. How does that keep you grounded, would you say? And how does that translate to your relationship with your husband, your relationship with your children, your relationship with your friends and extended family?
I was gonna say something more current, but I'm gonna go back a little. Um, I would say my faith, and when I first found out about God, I had a difficult time with my father here, my stepfather on here. My biological father, I never knew him. He passed away when I was young. But when I found out about God and the relationship I could have with him, it changed everything for me, because then I was like, oh, he's actually my father, and it gave me the ability to give my stepdad here so much grace, because I was like, oh, you just get to like raise me, you just get to do this. And it changed the dynamic for me with him, where I was able to give my stepfather grace, where I'd really unfortunately had a lot of hatred towards him.
Mhm.
And I feel like that with my children too. Like, I'm so blessed to be their mom and get to raise them and stuff like that, but they don't belong to me. And same with my, husband. I just always am intrigued, I guess, about who we are essentially, and like how we have to just constantly give each other grace. But I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. So literally living your life by grace. So
Yeah, like,
because
yeah.
we've
Even with
described,
people in public, even with, like,
yeah,
I love people's stories, you know. I can get along with anyone from any background, and I just love them instantly. I like everyone unless they don't like me, truthfully. And then when they don't like me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm out on you. But um I don't know. I'm just interested. And then
And
I feel,
giving them grace to have their experience.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, not everyone's going to be for everyone, for sure. Um,
I love that word grace. I mean, it actually to me it encompasses what you've done with your body. You've given your body grace.
yes.
You've learned through your beta thalassemia and all of the experiences, you've given your body grace. You have given your stepfather grace. You've given yourself grace. You have your, your children and your extent. It's like, I love that word. It's just even saying the word
Yeah.
grace is very peaceful, and it just, there's an energy about it that I love. So that's a beautiful word to kind of describe my experience of you, and how you've lived your life.
I try. I mean, of course, I'm sassy and get feisty, but I really am working on that all the time,
Mm.
and yes, giving myself grace, because I'm like, I try to stay out of my head nowadays, especially aging. And oh, when I was younger, it was, like I said, it was more like how I looked, exterior. I mean, I definitely want to look good now still, I'm not going to ever give up on that, but it is secondary now to recovering. But I do want to say something about you and how grateful I am for you. And I am going to toot your horn a little bit here. And you asked me what I would tell people about my care, or what I would recommend. And that is, I've called you a lot over the years. Like, you have been my doctor. I have medical doctors that treat my heart and blood, but you treat me like you have treated me. You've rehabbed me, you've adjusted me, you've taught me PT moves. So, the thing that I would say that I'm sad about for people is that they don't do the work. That I remember I was having a problem with my metatarsal in my foot, and my foot was messed up. And I was like, Todd, and I call you, you tell me what to do for my metatarsal. I get the golf ball out, I do the stretches, I do the exercises. Next time I see you, I'm like, foot's better, metatarsal's healed. And you were like, thank you. If people would just do, and so my thing would be is, I wish people would just do the thing.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't take that. I wish they would invest in themselves. I wish they would love themselves and care about themselves enough to just take the time, because it really doesn't take a lot of time.
And
And
mhm.
go ahead.
And has it been fun to learn those things?
Yeah, no, for sure. Because then people are like, my metatarsal. And I'm like, oh, here's what you do. You get a golf ball, you put it
Yeah.
under there. This, like,
Yeah.
I've been able to, you've taught me the wall angels because I've had shoulder issues, or, posture. I help people with their posture, and I'm able to help because it's helped me and you've taught me. So I just want to say thank you for always being there and answering my calls for all my injuries and things that I do to myself all the time. But I don't want to quit. So I
Yeah.
definitely want to stay active. But yeah, I think sometimes I'll see people coming into the gym, all shapes and sizes, and I think, oh my gosh, good for you. I'm so happy they're here. And a lot of people, they do say, like, the gym is probably the most friendly place,
Yeah.
because everyone there gets it. Everyone there is trying to better themselves. And I would just encourage people to, you know, love themselves and take care of themselves.
And get out of their own way. And there's
Yeah.
always, I call them back doors, where there's excuses to not to go do something. There's an excuse to do this. There's an excuse to
Ugh.
do that. However, those, and I know about excuses because I've used a lot of them, and they always sell me out, so to speak. And I've learned there's a price to pay for selling myself out. And, I use the example of cookies and donuts. Well, that's a sellout, right? And I love cookies and donuts, but that, I mean, just on a minimal scale. But I've sold myself out many times over my life on heavier things, and I'm not willing to pay that price anymore. I want it to care about myself to care
Yeah.
about. When I care about myself and love myself, I love everyone. I love my friend Heather. I love my children. I love because it's I love me and I love
Yes.
it's myself and what I do to myself and how I take care of myself, which means I want to take care of the world. And so that's what I hear you saying as well. Is like, wait, I love myself so much. I'm so grateful for my journey, and
Yes.
I literally it flows out of you. It flows out of
I
you. Yeah. No, it
I
does.
like that.
100%.
Um, two things to that. One of my favorite sayings is, and I always say this to my girls because that is a pet peeve of mine, is an excuse. When you hear something and I'm just like, oh, you either make a way or you make an excuse.
Yeah.
So I think, being able to get in tune with listening to yourself, like what you're saying to other people actually, and it's like, oh, that's actually an excuse for that behavior. That's an excuse of why I did that. Like, I cannot stand excuses. I know I make them. I probably say stuff too, but that's something I always want to work on. And that's something I always tell my children, either
And
make a way
because, yeah,
or make an excuse.
make a
Second,
way or make an excuse. And because you've made excuses and how they don't work in your life, you're like, wait a second here, Heather. And I say to somebody, wait, Todd, that's an excuse. That's a justification. That's a reason to not be my excellence or live my passion. And so, yeah, that's why I say get out of my own way, you know?
you know what though? I think that you and I, as close friends and brother and sister, we have held each other accountable with stuff like that. That we have the relationship where I think we've actually pointed out like times that we are doing that and making an excuse. And I appreciate that about you, that, you know,
Yeah.
because we help each other better
Yeah.
ourselves.
And we've
You know,
actually had, I know this, where we've had moments like, oh, she's really irritated with me right now.
we've had serious arguments. We've had
Yeah.
fallouts. It's, we've done a lot of work together,
Mhm. That's
you
fair.
know,
And
and I love it. I love our journey and the work that we've done together. I was going to say something to your comment though about the love and putting love into the world and stuff like that. I'm always fascinated about social media, real quick, like people that take the time to like write a negative comment.
Mhm.
And I'm like, isn't that interesting that you would have the time to write something? And I always actually have compassion because I think if you have the time to write something negative like that, what is going on in your head? Like
Yeah.
that is not coming from a happy person. That is not coming from a person that loves themselves.
Yeah.
And it actually makes me have compassion for people like that because I just want to be somebody's hype woman or a cheerleader or like stuff. And I actually am kind of just like, I don't like it.
You know, I didn't think about sharing this in the podcast today, but I was in a yoga class this morning. And at the end of class, we're in Shavasana just after the class is done. And there was music playing. And I had something hit me that said, what if your actions, your words, how you show up in life are directing the music in heaven?
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And I'm like, whoa, what if my actions, my language, my words, my relationships, how I treat others, how I treat myself is literally the director or the composer of the music in heaven? And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
then I want to compose beautiful music.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to compose light and sound and vibration and geometries and all of these things that I'm like, I am the composer of the music in heaven. And so that's how it hit me. Like I get to live my life that way. And it really hit me. And I had never considered it that way ever before, other than this morning, a couple hours ago. I'm like, so what you just described is being a cheerleader and an advocate and a positive, literally sending positive energy and language and words into the world is essential, to my well-being and your well-being, but also humanity, our bodies, our minds, our souls. And so thank you, love. This has been amazing. And I know Heather, she's actually headed off to an exercise class here pretty soon. Her sweet husband, Mark, who I adore. And we, we get together frequently and do fun things together. And I just seriously, this has been amazing. I'm so grateful. I would love to have you back on the podcast.
It was so fun. I would love to. I love you. So of course I would do it. And I think the way how the work that we've done, we've not always been in this spot. We've been in dark times before us individually. And I know that people out there are in dark times. I think how we're trying to express it is we want people to feel what we feel now after we've done the work. And so if we can leave anyone with like kind words or encouragement to, love themselves, I think that's what we want to get to the gist of it, because we want people to feel as good as we feel, because feeling good feels good.
Yes. And it ripples.
And it ripples for sure. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. Hey, folks, make sure you tuning into the Two Thumbs Up podcast, and check us out on Spotify, and we'll be on Facebook. We'll be on TikTok and Instagram. So, and Heather, we will, if you're okay with it, we'll tag you when we get this up out there.
Please. I want my friends to watch.
Yeah. And again,
people really know that I have thalassemia. Sorry to interrupt.
I know. That's what's amazing, because like you've had this experience. And that's one of the reasons I want to have you on a few times, is you've had this experience, and people that know you don't know this.
No, it's a disease. Yeah, I don't think many people know.
Yeah.
So thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. We'll talk soon. Love you. See you. Thumbs up. Okay. See you. Bye.
Bye.